Hello, my lovelies. This is my June wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So I'm going to try to do my vlog, or my wrap-up this month vlog style like I was doing before. Hopefully I can remember to update everything. But it is currently June 3rd. Yesterday I finished my first book, and that was The Bones Beneath My Skin by T.J. Klune. This was such a good book. So this is set in the 90s, and our main character, Nate, his parents have passed away very traumatically and tragically. And his father left him his truck. His mother left him a cabin. He also wasn't really close with his family anymore. Both his mother and father and his brother all kind of almost disowned him. Didn't want anything to do with him because they discovered he was gay. And they did not take it well. So he hasn't spoken with any of them in many years until their deaths, when his brother called him to let him know what had happened. Anyway, he also is having some issues with work. He is a journalist in DC, and he's just gotten fired. And he takes this time to, he's going to go away to this cabin, which is in Oregon, and it's in the mountains and away from everything and everyone, and try to refine himself. And when he gets there, there is this giant 40-year-old burly man and this very precocious 10-year-old girl in his cabin. And he's kind of freaking out because they have a gun and all of this stuff. And he doesn't know what's going on with these people. He doesn't know if this is his child or if this is, this girl has been kidnapped. He doesn't know anything about them and can't really get any answers out of them. But over time, we discover that they are on the run, and we learn throughout the book, way into the book, who they're on the run from and why, and what's so special about this little girl. And there's a lot that goes on. Yeah, there's some crazy stuff that happens in here. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm giving this 4 stars. So it is June 5th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. In this, we have Keela, who is a librarian for this great library in Elysium, where they store all the magical books and spells and all that stuff. And because of the unrest that's been going on in the city, they've been storing certain books away in boats in order to have them saved just in case something happens. Well, that something happens, and the emperor is thrown from a window. Elysium's on fire, including the library, and Keela and Cass, her sentient talking spider plant assistant, escape with the books that are on this boat. And the only place she can think of to go is this little island where she was born, and she hadn't been there in a long time. And she doesn't feel like she really fits because she's not really used to dealing with people, and is very awkward when it comes to talking to anybody, or has a lot of social anxiety. And she's got to figure out a way to make money and feed herself, and she doesn't know how to do anything. She doesn't know how to cook or anything. And she ends up deciding that she's going to start a jam shop in her house. And she also wants to do things to help the island. And so she's starting to use some of these spells in these books to help the island get better, because it's really been struggling and a lot of things have been going wrong. And there's a lot of trial and error because she's not a sorceress. So we end up with her trying to heal some apple trees, and we end up with the tree that sings, and we end up with the tree that turns into a bird. that looks like an apple blossom. Yeah, it's kind of chaotic. It's super cute. There's also a lot of things that go on where you have like this grumpy old man who just kind of is miserable and wants to make everybody else miserable and complain about everything. Then we have this woman whose ship crashes, and Keela's very sweet neighbor who definitely has a crush on Keela ends up saving her. And this woman causes all kinds of issues. And then there's a warship that comes for this woman, and it's just chaos. But it's a lot of fun, and it was very cute, and I'm giving it 3.75 stars. And I could see myself reading more in this series. So it is June 6th, and I've completed one more book. I finished The Lake by Natasha Preston. This book actually has 2 different books in it, so I just read The Lake. And I'm giving this 2.5 stars. This was my buddy read for my coffee patrons. And I don't know, I found it very cheesy, and it gave me I Know What You Did Last Summer vibes. It's set at this camp where our main character and her best friend, they were campers when they were like 7 or 8 years old, and it's now 10 years later, and they're back as counselors in training. They didn't ever want to come back, but they kind of received this invitation to be counselors, and it was kind of a threatening invitation in a way that was like, if you don't do it, you're going to regret it. And so they arrive, and lots of weird things start happening, creepy messages and stuff like that are just aimed at like the counselors and the counselors in training, and nothing that the campers see. There's even like a slaughtered deer in the dining room that was really gross scene. But yeah, it all just felt very cheesy, very predictable, and I really was not a fan of the ending. So yeah, I'm giving this 2.5 stars. So it is Sunday, June 7th, and I've completed one more book. I finished Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood, and I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I love everything that Ali writes, and the way she does like the tension between our characters is always just chef's kiss. Okay, so Maya has gone through some things. When she was like 3 or 4 years old, her brother, who is 17, went away to university. And so she was never really close with him because he didn't come home a lot because he didn't have a great relationship with their parents. And so he went away, and she continued growing up. But then when she was 13, her parents both passed away, and she was sent to live with her brother now. And this was a very tumultuous relationship because she was a teenager and she was grieving, and she's also like brilliant. And she ends up eventually getting better, but she always felt bad too for how she treated her brother during this time. But they were living in Austin, Texas, and when she had the opportunity to go off to college, she wanted to go away. And so she went to the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And there she ends up in her first real relationship. She's just like 20 years old, and her first long-term relationship, things did not go great. And she's heartbroken, and she tries to call her brother, and he just got on a flight to Australia and won't be available for like 20 hours. But who is available is her brother's best friend and business partner, Connor. And Connor is 15 years older than her, and kind of a stuffy guy, but he ends up really stepping up and helping her a lot. And after this, they end up developing this amazing friendship that spans years. And there's also a lot of sexual tension between them, but he's very reluctant to participate in this because mostly because he's 15 years older than her. He's 35, she's 20, and he just doesn't think that's a good idea. And she doesn't care if it's a good idea or not. She is totally just infatuated with him. And then as time goes, her feelings grow more and more. Obviously, his do too, but he doesn't say so. And we have this timeline, but then we also have a timeline that is like present day, because this was like 3 years ago. Present day, Eli is Maya's brother, and he is getting married at a destination wedding, and Maya is there, and of course Connor is there, and something happened in the past that kind of killed their friendship to the point that she's still totally into him. However, she also kind of hates him, and it's very an aggressive kind of relationship at this point. And the banter between these two, whether they're fighting or other things, is fantastic. And we kind of go back and forth between the two timelines of this friendship building and developing, leading up to why it stopped, and then them kind of reconnecting at this wedding. And at this wedding, everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. Like, there's a freaking volcano, just everything. People getting sick, the wedding gown doesn't come out right, just all kinds of stuff. So they're saying it's cursed, but it was such a fun read. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm giving it 4 stars. So it is Tuesday, June 9th, and I completed 2 more books. On both of them I completed on Sunday the 7th. The first one I completed was The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. And this is the second book in the Housemaid series. I don't know if that's the name of the series or not. But in the first book, Millie has gotten out of prison. She's trying to find a job that, somebody that'll actually hire her because she does have a record. And she gets a job as a housemaid, and things don't pan out, right? Or the way she was hoping. And it's a wild ride. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And now in the second book, and I can't remember if I gave the first book 4 or 5 stars, but in the second book, it's now years later after the first book. And Millie has gotten a reputation for helping women in need and getting them out of bad situations. And she had this boyfriend she didn't have in the first book, that he knew people, and they worked together to help these women. But eventually he had to go, and he kind of put her on a new path to get her college degree to become a social worker so she could help women in a more legal way. And she's been doing that. She's working to kind of pay her way through school, and she's taking kind of whatever job she can. She was a bartender, and she was a housemaid for another family, until the kids started calling Millie Mama, and then the mother freaked out and fired her. So she finds herself like needing another job desperately, quickly, so she doesn't have to move out of her lower Bronx apartment. And she's also dating this new guy who is a lawyer, and he seems to be a really great guy, and he's in love with her, and he wants them to move in together, and he wants to get married one day. But he doesn't know about her past. He doesn't know about her record or any of that. And she just knows that as soon as he finds out, he's out of there. Anyway, so she gets this housemaid job, and it's just a man and a woman. There's no kids to care for. And it's actually the man that hires her in this situation. And that's a first for her, because it's usually the wife or the mother or whatever that's calling her. And I thought that this was going to kind of mimic what happened in the first book. But oh my goodness, did it not. There were so many twists and turns and things I didn't see coming. And pretty much from like the halfway point all the way through the epilogue, there were twists. And I absolutely loved it. And I'm giving it 5 stars. And I cannot wait to continue this series. Once I finished that, the next thing I read was Dishonestly Yours by Krista and Becca Ricci. And this is one that I had previously physically read the first like quarter of it, but then the book disappeared and I have no idea where it went. And so I found it on Spotify and I was able to use like the 15 hours for that. And once I got to the point that I was already at physically, I found myself starting to get bored. And the premise of this book is we have these two families that have been conning together forever. The mothers of the two families are best friends, and they've been, you know, being con artists together, and having their kids grow up as con artists, and they all work together, and they move from one place to another, scamming, you know, either short scams and getting money quick, or doing like the long scam and marriage and all of this other stuff. But the daughter of each of these women are also best friends, and they have been working together on this job in Carlsbad. Something happens. We don't find out until closer to the end of the book what happened with this job, but something happens, and after this job, they've decided that they are not going to con anymore. They're going to separate from their family. They're going to live in this little Connecticut town, work in a country club, and just live a normal middle class life. But one of them, her brother, decides to tag along, and he's there pretty much to kind of make sure everything's okay with the girls, and also maybe try to help keep the rest of the family from swarming in. He's also in love with his sister's best friend, but she doesn't know that. And she's also in love with him, but he doesn't know that. And they've had like a tumultuous relationship where they've had to play parts with each other in different cons, whether they had to play siblings, or they had to play as they were dating, or they had to play as they were married, or all kinds of different things. And it feels like it's hard to tell like what their real relationship and their play relationship can be sometimes. So there was a lot of tension with them throughout. And I was expecting a lot more with this book, but after I got past the part that I'd already physically read, it started getting pretty dull, because they were just living the normal middle life, or middle class life, but it would go back and forth in time, like talking about the cons that they did in the past. But I don't know, it just kind of got monotonous and boring, and it wasn't until maybe 75% of the way through the book that things started picking up, and the couple got together, and some drama happened, and the families all ended up descending, and there were twists. And I was thinking this was probably going to be a 3-star until towards the end. And the final twist at the end, because this is the first book in a series, it kind of left on a little bit of a cliffhanger, made me almost want to continue the series. So I'm giving it a 3.5 for that. But I honestly, when I thought about it, I don't think that I'm interested enough to continue. I am kind of curious. I might look up spoilers to find out later, but I don't have enough desire to continue the series when I have other things that I'm more interested in. So I'm giving this one just 3.5 stars. So it is Sunday, June 14th, and I've completed 2 more books. So on, I think it was Friday the 12th, I read The Daughters of Wise by M.T. Anderson and Joe Rio. This was interesting. It was a bit of a wild ride. It is a graphic novel. It's based on Breton folklore, and Breton is located in the Brittany region of France, which is like the northernmost region of France. We have these, well, before we get to these 2 girls, the daughters of Wise, it starts out with saying that their mother's from another world. And it starts out pretty wild right off the bat. So I guess it's the father telling this. He's gravely injured, and she finds him and she's like, "Hey, I can help you. I just need you to kill my husband." And he's like, "Bet, got you." And so she takes him and he kills her wizard of a husband. And then she's like, "Okay, now we can get married and have children, and I'll build you this great city and, provide you everything you need," and yada, yada, yada. And he's like, "Bet." So marries her. And she uses all this magic to create this amazing city, and he's the king. And even a sea monster that helps protect the city. And they have these two daughters. But I guess all the magic she's using is making her age like super quickly. And so, like, right off the bat, she's dead. And the dad, he finds comfort in two women, and the girls see it and they like flip out. And then the girls kind of part ways. Whereas the older one, the heiress, she goes and lives in the moors and is living with the people and kind of living wildly in a way. And the younger one, she's living at the castle and she's embracing all the magic and she's taking part in it. And they're having all these parties and everything. And she, at each party, lures a man up to her tower where she sleeps with him and then uses this mask to behead him and takes his head as sort of a sacrifice to something. And she's kind of awful. And when she sees that her sister has found love with this normal guy, she lures him to her tower. She seduces him and sleeps with him. And the older sister, of course, sees what's going on. And the younger sister decides to spare his life and not behead him and sacrifice him. But because of this, the next day, like, there's this big storm and this creepy guy shows up and he said he goes to the party and she's like, "Yeah, I want him," and lures him up to her tower. And there he kind of reveals that he is there because there's a contract and there was a payment missed and everything's about to fall apart. And yeah, it was interesting. I think I'm giving this 3.5 stars. And then yesterday I read Red Hood and the Outlaws Volume 1 Redemption by Scott Lobdell and Kenneth Rockefort. And I'm only giving this 2 stars. I was incredibly bored. Definitely won't be continuing or keeping this. Red Hood was once Robin from Batman and Robin, but Robin was killed by the Joker, and the Batman, I guess, let it happen. And of course, he wants revenge. He was brought back from the dead through this Lazarus thing by this group called the All Cast, and then he became Red Hood. And then it's him and Arsenal, who's another sidekick, and Starfire, who's this alien princess. And something happens with the All Cast and they gotta try to help them. And I don't know, it was just, to me, it was boring, and I could care less the whole time I was reading it, but I did finish it. 2 stars. So it's Thursday, June 18th, and I've completed one more book. I finished Camp by Lev Rossin. I'm giving this one 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would read it again, but I did have a good time while I was reading it. It was fairly quick read too. So we have this boy named Randy, or Randall, and he's gone to this LGBT summer camp for a few years now as himself, Randy. And he's had long hair. He's a little pudgy. He was, big into theater, liked to wear makeup and fingernail polish and all of that. But there's this boy, Hixson, that he really, really likes. But Hixson has always been into more masculine boys. So after his last summer there, he spends the next year transforming himself, working out, losing weight, He gets a haircut, and he goes there as Dell instead of Randy. Dell is still part of his name. He's Randall, but kind of playing it as he's the new kid. Now his theater friends, they all know he's Randy, but they're trying to help him, and he's trying to get Hixson. And things seem to be going his way for a little while, but of course, that never works out. It was a cute story. Hixson and Randy both learned a lot about each other and about themselves as well. And yeah, I enjoyed it. And I'm glad that I read it. So it is Sunday, June 21st, and I've completed one more book. I actually finished this on the 19th, but I finished The Butcher's Masquerade by Matt Denneman. This is, I believe, a book 5 of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Because it is so much later, I can't say too much about, what happens in this, but I will say that this particular level is like the hunting ground. So you've got the crawlers, and then you've got also these other people that have kind of paid or whatever to get into the dungeon to like hunt the crawlers. But there's a lot of stuff that's going on that's taking out crawlers, taking out hunters, and there's this big party towards the end called the Butcher's Masquerade, and for things that you've attacked, you're like collecting hands from them, and you use these as sort of like tickets for rewards, like an arcade type thing, and you get to choose your award at the masquerade. Only the top 50 get to go to the Butcher's Masquerade, and they also get to bring a +1 if they want. There's also like a pet show and a talent show, and there's not supposed to be any violence, but there's gonna be something, and chaos ensues. I very much enjoyed this, and I give it 4.5 stars. So I'm filming the last little bit of this wrap-up vlog way after the fact. It's actually July 9th now, but I was on a trip, and then I got home, and I didn't feel like picking up my camera until now. But I need to do this so that I can get it edited for you guys. So I completed 2 more books in the month of June. The first one I completed, I think it was on June 24th, and that was The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. And this is sort of a mystery thriller, more mystery than thriller. It goes back and forth in 2 timelines, and then those 2 timelines kind of converge. So it starts out with this girl and her boyfriend, also the father of her child, going out for a night while her mother watches the baby. And then they never get home. And her mother is desperate to try to find her. And then it goes like around a year later, and this woman who is a mystery writer, her and her boyfriend have just moved into this town, into this home. He's going to be like kind of like the dean of students or whatever at this private, I don't know if it's a high school or a university. I really couldn't understand that. But she stumbles upon a cardboard box, or a cardboard poster that says "dig here" back in like by these woods, and out of curiosity, of course, she digs there, and it leads to something from this missing girl, and she ends up working with the mom to try to help her figure things out. And the case has been kind of cold for a while. And then we also go back in time, seeing how things developed and what happened, and then current day. And I really enjoyed it. There was a really interesting storyline there, and I can't really say too much about what was going on. I will say there are queer elements as well, and not healthy relationships. But not, well, I was gonna say not, those don't go together, but they kind of do. Anyway, I enjoyed it and I'm giving it 4 stars. The next thing I read was Hang the Moon by Alexandra Bellafleur. And this is the second book in the Written in the Stars series. So in Written in the Stars, we had Darcy and Elle, and this was a sapphic romance, and it was super cute, and I enjoyed it a lot. And in Hang the Moon, it follows Darcy's brother and her best friend, and they're meet cute and all of that. So Darcy's brother, Brendan, is kind of a hopeless romantic. He's the one that created the app that Darcy works for and Elle works for, or Elle works for. I don't think Darcy actually works there. But it's called like OP or OOP. And I think it's OOP. And it's like One True Pairing. And it's different than a lot of other dating apps. And it's hugely successful. And Brendan is constantly going from one girl to another, trying to find his like perfect match. And Annie, Darcy's best friend, comes to town to surprise Darcy and spend some time with her before she actually moves to London. Currently, she's been living in Pennsylvania, I think, and Darcy and all of them live in Seattle. So they've been on opposite sides of the country, but now they're going to be like even farther away. And when she gets there, Darcy's on vacation for like the first time in forever with Elle, and they're in Canada. So there's like a week of time that she's there without Darcy. And Brendan, who had a crush on her as a child, has now stepped in to be her like tour guide and all of that. And it's super cute, and I loved it. I think I'm going to give this one 4 stars as well. So I can't remember how many books I ended up reading in the month. It was quite a bit. I'll put the number up here. It'll also have been on my thumbnail. But have you read any of these? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Also, how did you do with Camp SeasonAthon? Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!